and I would still send these cards if I had to do it all over, even though it didn't work out for me this time. There are millions of sports cards on the market at any given time. And so the question we're always asking ourselves as card investors is, which are the ones that are going to give us the best chance to be profitable flips? And in this video, I'm going to walk you through 14 recent examples of cards that I've personally invested in, including the numbers and the logic behind each play, so that you can get inside the mind of a 20-year card investor and see how these decisions actually get made. Now, before we dive in, I have to be clear. These investments were made for specific reasons at specific times, and that time has come and gone for each of these cards. So this is not a video about giving you my picks or telling you to go buy these cards. In fact, I'd advise you not to buy these cards because the window to buy them has come and gone. So the purpose for this video is just to use these as examples so that you can see the thinking behind the plays. That's all. All right, let's dive into this. The first two cards we'll talk about today are these Caitlin Clark Fractal Prism rookie cards. They both got PSA 10s in my most recent grading order, so those will be nice wins. But here's why I actually bought them. So this card is awesome because Panini Prism for WNBA from 2024 was a really difficult product to grade, where the gem rate is only around 20% across the product. That means only 1 out of 5 cards that are getting sent to PSA are actually getting PSA 10s. That's tough. And that's only the cards that are actually clean enough that people are sending them. So why did I target this Fractal specifically? Well, this card has a 65% gem rate. And that means that almost 2 out of every 3 of these that are getting submitted are getting PSA 10s. That's a way higher success rate and something that's a lot easier to find in clean, gradable condition. The other thing I like about this card is there is tons of upside built into it. So I bought these for around $27 a piece, plus the grading fee, and you can sell these for around $150 right now. So you're right around a 3x on any 10s that you get. That's a really nice play. And in general, grading cards that have high upside where a PSA 10 creates a meaningful profit, that's one of the best things that you can do in this market because you're going to be able to go so much faster. So imagine buying a card that sells for $27 raw, you spend 20 bucks on the grading fee. If you get a 10, it's $75. Great, those plays are out there, right? But this card is $27 raw, 20 bucks for the grading fee, and then it sells for $150. So you make way more profit on this card if you get 10s on it. And that's one of my favorite things, is just going after these types of cards that have monster upside. The next couple of cards are also Caitlin Clark. I like her because she's super liquid, so she's easy to move. Even as 9s, you can usually get pretty close to break even. These two, I bought a green and an ice parallel. I sent these off. They both came back as 9s. So I'm not going to win on those cards, but I still stand behind the reasoning here. They are difficult grades. The gem rates are low on those particular cards, but these two copies were actually very clean. They were well centered. I thought they had a legit shot at getting a 10. And if they did get 10s, they would have gone from around $100 ungraded to close to $400 as PSA 10s. So there's giant upside if you can pull a 10. It's a tough grade to get, but that's the reasoning behind this play, and I would still send these cards if I had to do it all over because I do think that they were close enough to at least have a shot at getting a PSA 10, even though it didn't work out for me this time. The next 3 cards I bought also were from the same grading order, and they came from a lot that I bought off of a person that was looking to move their collection. And so I sent off this Rob Gronkowski rookie card, this Derek Jeter score rookie card, and this Michael Jordan second-year Fleer card. And they got a 10 on the Gronk, the Jeter pulled a 9, and the Jordan got a 6. So the way that the numbers work out, I'll do well on the Gronk. That's an easy win. So I assigned about $5 of value to this card from the lot. Add your grading fee in, so there's an extra 20 bucks. So I'm into this for $25. They sell around 100 bucks. And the thing I like about that card is that even though he's not a quarterback, he's just such a known player that it's not going to be a hard card to move for an easy profit. Now the Jeter I paid about $8 for as part of that lot, plus the grading fee, so I'm into it for around 28 bucks. It did come back a 9, so I missed on this one, and it's only worth about 35 bucks as a 9. So not a terrible play where I'm going to make maybe $1 or $2 after fees. That doesn't excite me at all, though, because I was hoping that this thing was clean enough to get a 10. And what I like about this card is it was perfect, except for the top to bottom centering is a little bit off. And so the reason why I sent this card is because even though I knew that the centering was off, because the rest of the card was perfect and the upside was there, I thought it was worth the gamble, especially knowing that even if it got a 9, I'm not going to lose much, if anything, and I might even make a couple dollars. So it was worth grading, even though I knew it was probably going to be tough to pull a 10 with that kind of centering. I've had cards like this get PSA 10s before, so to me, that's the type of card that's worth taking a shot on just because the upside is $100+ had it gotten a 10. Now, the Jordan I paid about $200 for as part of that same lot. The good thing about buying lots is you can get them at a discount. You're providing the seller with liquidity, meaning you're making it easy for them to sell a bunch of unrelated cards all at once and giving them money for those cards in exchange for doing the work to properly piece out the cards. So lot buying requires some effort, but it can be an easy way to make quick flips, or even better if you can grade some of the better cards from a lot to add on to the value. Now, one quick tip for you: when you're buying lots, my strategy is always I want to see an easy path to getting my money back and then to make a profit as quickly as possible in as few cards as possible. So piecing out all the other cards is a bonus. So any grading that happens is a bonus. I'm not counting on grades to make money on a lot purchase. I want to make sure I can see a very clear path to profit with that purchase and only a few cards, because I don't want to have to do a bunch of work just to get my money back. Now, this Jordan I thought might have an outside shot at a 7 where it would be worth $400 plus, but it came back as a 6. I'm still happy with it. It's going to end up in the $300 to $350 range, and I'm going to do just fine on that card. Now, Jordan cards are awesome because he has such a massive following that they are always in demand. You'll never have trouble moving a Jordan card. And with a little patience, I can likely get the top end of market price for that card too. So that'll be an easy win. Next, I'll walk you through a couple of grading plays that I've picked up over the past few days to send in my next grading submissions. So first, when you heard me talking about high upside cards, another name that I like quite a bit is Shohei Ohtani. Now, this is a pink refractor from 2020 Topps Chrome, and the reason why I like Ohtani cards is he's similar to Jordan and Caitlin Clark in being very liquid. He's very easy to move. There's always big demand for his stuff. And there's also usually a lot of premium when you get the grades that you're looking for here, especially on parallels, even these lower end ones. So I have a handful of these that are sitting at PSA right now, but I like this type of play because it's not super expensive, but there's still big time upside when you get PSA 10s. So I paid about $33 for this card ungraded, add in the grading fee, and then as PSA 10s, these are selling anywhere from $125 to about $200 right now. The other thing that I like about this is the gem rate on this card is 72%. So that means over 7 out of every 10 copies of this card that are being submitted are coming back as 10s. And that oftentimes means we're gonna have an easier time finding clean, raw copies of this card out there. Now, if you're wondering how do you actually find these cards that have the strong gem rate and a whole bunch of margin built in if they get PSA 10s, the old school way of doing this is to look at the pop report and to take a look at which are the cards that have high gem rates and then cross-reference that with your favorite comp tool to get a feel for what the values are. And you're looking for the cards where the PSA 10 price is significantly higher than the raw value and also that they have a strong gem rate. So I personally like 50% and above gem rate. I find that it's easier for me to find clean, raw, gradable copies of those cards out there. That's not a rule. That's just what I like to go by personally. And so that's what I did for years. It definitely works. It just takes a lot of work to do all that cross-referencing from one app to the next and looking at prices, gem rates, and trying to figure out which cards you actually target. So I actually built a software that does this automatically. This is called Coin. It's the Card Opportunity and Investing Navigator. We call it Coin for short. But what this does is it shows you a ranked list of the top cards to target for grading in today's market. And it's going to show you all of those key data points in one table, so you don't actually need to go from site to site. And so, for example, if we're looking at a Caitlin Clark card, you can actually see, okay, here's that fractal card. You can see sells for around 36, 37 bucks right now, and they're selling for around 140 bucks as PSA 10s. And you can see the gem rate right here. There's a bunch of other data in here to help you make better grading decisions. So the point of this is if you're someone that's buying cards to get graded and you're always researching, well, which ones are the right ones to target? This is just going to shortcut the research a ton. So you can do 5 hours of research in 5 seconds and just get to eBay to start finding the clean copies of these cards. And by the way, if this sounds like it would be valuable for you in the way that you work your card business, you can actually try Coin completely for free with a 7-day free trial. I'll leave a link in the description with details, but otherwise, let's get back to the video. The next one we've got is another grading play. So this is a bigger card, a Caitlin Clark courtside tiger stripe parallel. This is a card that I spent $2,200 on. I think it's actually worth a little bit more right now because I bought it kind of at the down part of the market. So my strategy here is to grade this card and flip it. So what's nice about these higher dollar cards is you're just one grade away from making $1,000+ of pure profit. So I don't want my money sitting in this card for a super long time. So I'm going to pay up for a faster PSA turnaround. To me, this card looks borderline between a 9 and a 10. So if I get a 9 on this card, I probably end up breaking even, maybe making a few bucks just because I got a good deal on it to begin with. But if this card gets a 10, right now Card Ladder has this estimated at $4,200. So you're looking at about $2,000 of margin built in based on where I bought it. And so even after the grading fees and the selling fees there, you still end up looking at something like a $1,500 net profit. So fingers crossed on that one. I do think it has a good chance at getting a 10. We'll see how that one grades out. So next we'll talk about a few cards that I bought already graded with a different strategy in mind other than the grading game. So the first one is this Kyle Tucker Orange Topps Chrome Refractor out of 25 as a PSA 10. So I actually like Kyle Tucker quite a bit because not only is he a really great player, but he's a guy that was going to be the top free agent of the class. And so usually those guys that are in that top tier of free agency are going to get offers from the biggest market teams. And so you're looking at, if he goes to the Yankees, if he goes to the Mets, if he goes to the Dodgers, typically you see values jump pretty much overnight just because of how big those markets are. And so Tucker ends up signing with the Dodgers, and a lot of his cards jumped by 50 to 100% overnight, especially the rarer cards like this Orange Refractor out of 25. So I had a bunch of his cards and will do very well by the time I'm done unloading. Now, this isn't just about Kyle Tucker. You can look at this from one year to the next and start to speculate on who are those top free agents going to be and start to look at, okay, does this make sense as an investment? Is this guy going from the A's to potentially the Yankees or the Mets or the Dodgers or one of those bigger market teams, where it's a stark contrast in the actual markets. And sometimes that's enough to drive values overnight when those moves are made. Now, they aren't always going to sign with one of those teams. If Tucker had gone to the Blue Jays, for example, like there were rumors about for quite a few weeks, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Maybe his values wouldn't have moved at all, but he ended up going to a bigger market. So it worked out this time. It's a play that I've used before. It's a play that I'll use again, but it's usually those top guys in free agency that attract the biggest market teams. So keep that in mind going into next season. The next one was a similar play in spirit, although I'm not sure it's going to work out quite the same way. So I bought this 2013 Topps Update Nolan Arenado Target Red Border PSA 10. This is a super difficult grade. These are really hard to find. It's only pop 29, and this far from the release of the product, you're not likely to see very many others hit the pop report. So I love the rarity here. And what I had in mind when I bought this card is even though he hasn't been as good in recent years here in the back part of his career, he's still a name that everyone knows. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And even though he wasn't going to be a free agent, the Cardinals were going toward a rebuild, so it made no sense for him not to get traded. And so my hope was that he would end up going to a much bigger market team and the change of scenery would sort of revitalize his card market. Instead, he goes to Arizona. Maybe there's a little bit of liquidity bump in the short term, but there's certainly not going to be a massive value jump as a result of that. So this is one of those cards that I'll probably fish on eBay for a little bit, see if I can get an offer that I like. The good news is my buy-in wasn't crazy high on this, so I'm not in a terrible spot, but it's definitely not going to be the quick double up that I was hoping for. So sometimes you win, sometimes you don't when you're trying to predict the future, but I can at least explain the logic behind this play, and I would still make that play again for a guy like this. The next one is this Yordan Alvarez Topps Chrome Autograph PSA 10 with a 10 auto grade. So I bought this one and got a good deal on it where I basically paid the same price as what they're going for without the auto grade, except this one has the auto grade. So I'm into it for $175. And what I like about this one is he's coming off of a bad year where he missed a bunch of time to injury, but when he's right, he's one of the most dangerous hitters in the game. So usually what we see is when players are out of sight and out of mind, and especially if you can buy during the offseason when the whole sport is out of sight and out of mind and people are focused on football and basketball and just other things in general, you can often find good deals on good cards. So that's part of why I think I was able to get such a decent deal on this card. And the play here is to sell going into next season when all of that attention and all of the excitement returns to the baseball market. Typically, we see a seasonal market pattern where on the way out of the season, values start to soften, and on the way back into the next season, values pick back up again, just because of where people's attention happens to be at the time. And so if you understand how this works and you understand which are the right types of players to target and the right types of cards to target, you can leverage that market swing pattern to turn profit year after year after year just by understanding how the market works. What I like about this card is it has the auto grade, so it's a little bit more rare than just the normal base auto as a PSA 10, and I expect to be able to get around 250, maybe a little bit more out of this card closer to the season. The next one is this Corbin Carroll Blue Refractor Auto PSA 10. So I have actually had 4 of these. I bought 2 as PSA 10s and I bought 2 to grade. One got a 9, one got a 10. This is the last of those that I have left. And the reason why I like Corbin Carroll is because he plays like a superstar, but he doesn't quite sell like it just yet. But similar to the Alvarez card, this is a seasonal play where I bought during the offseason expecting him to rise going back into the following season. And that's exactly what it looks like is going to happen. I paid around $550 for this card, and recent sales have been between $750 and $850. So I'm set up pretty nicely already. And I think that values might continue to heat up even a little bit more as we get closer to the season. So understanding seasonality and buying at the right time of year when people are focused elsewhere is a big unlock in this market when you can start to understand how that pattern actually works. The last one that we've got for you today is more of just a fun one, kind of a bet on the market itself. But this is a 1999 Topps Ken Griffey Jr. Lords of the Diamond insert as a PSA 10. So it's a really tough grade, so I like the fact that there's some rarity built into the low pop. And because of the design having all of these points at the top of the card, it's a die cut. I don't expect many more 10s to hit the pop, especially this far removed from the product. So this is a play that I'm making more for a longer term hold. First of all, I just enjoy the card. I just think it's fun. So it kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone, where I get to enjoy the fun of collecting, but also in a way that is financially smart and has some upside attached to it. So the reason I like this card is because Ken Griffey Jr. is one of the most widely collected players in this entire market. He continues to be popular even years after retirement, and a lot of the similar cards of him, these inserts and these cool parallels, and especially the lower pop ones, tend to rise slowly over time. This isn't my only Griffey Jr. card, and I like how wide the demand is for him as more of these cards disappear into collections and into people's investment portfolios. A lot of times when another copy comes out and hits the market, it goes for a new all-time high. And that's exactly what I'm banking on here, is that eventually these will disappear for a while. Then as they slowly show back up on the market, one at a time, they will go higher and higher and higher and stair step up until I can flip this card and hopefully make a bunch of money. So there you have it, 14 recent investments explained. Now there's one key takeaway that I hope you'll leave with from this video, and that's that for every single one of these investments, I hope you noticed along the way that I always have a specific why I bought the card and why I think the value will rise, and then a when, so a timeline attached to when I think that will happen. And you'll notice that it doesn't always work out. I did get 9s on some of those grading plays. You know, that Arenado card probably isn't going to work out based on the market that he went to, but every single time there's clear rationale behind the play, and it's something that I can clearly explain, and there's also a timeline attached to each one of those. So I'm not just buying a card and hoping for the best. And this is what separates pro level card investors from just the average hobbyist or the person that loses money, is that there is a clear strategy behind every single card that you buy, and also a timeline attached to it as well. So I hope this has been helpful. If you're someone who's trying to level up in the sports card market and you want a built-in support system and to go faster, take a look at Cardboard Profit Ignite. It's my card investing community. We've got almost 150 card investors learning, leveling up, and winning together. It's so much fun. We'd love to see you inside and support you in your journey along the way. I'll leave details in the description, but otherwise, we'll see you on the next video.